before I wrap it up, before I'm done, I just want to make it abundantly clear that I'm not anti anything that's positive and progressive. And you know, I never thought I'd find myself in the situation I'm in now, with this little, I call it a challenge, brought upon me by the government and powers that be. But you know, that's the path God seen for my life, and I'm here to submit to it and fulfill it, whichever way I can. The thing is, you know, this government and this system is corrupt with evil and malice. When you decide to stand up and advocate against racism and inequality, and you ostracized and condemned and hidden for your efforts. This is really the system of a nigga who told you to talk. You know what I'm talking about? Like, these racists and bigots, they allowed to openly express and display their hatred for us, whether it be on social media, in public venues, our protest rallies, online news sites. Hell, it don't matter where it's at. But they, you know what I mean, when it comes to us, they investigate and arrest people like myself, who only speak on combating racism, violations of our civil rights, our fellow citizens' lives being taken unjustifiably, police brutality, basically everything that's wrong with our country when it comes to the oppression of Black Americans. I promote self-defense. I encourage the defense of our neighbors' lives, and I get ostracized and disparaged, you know. But they never publicly attack or condemn the racists when they speak their hate. But they will raid and arrest me for expecting better from law enforcement and our justice system, then attempt to demonize me as if I'm asking them to give us something more than what we are equally entitled to. But for some reason, this system doesn't recognize us as victims. They dehumanize us so much, and in their mind, we're not even worthy of the word victim. That phrase would happen to be reserved for whites and animals. So, for real though, they will call pit bulls that have been made to fight in kennels victims of abuse, as if they don't lock us in cages and communities intentionally and watch us break each other down. But that's for a conversation down the road. But yeah, those victims of abuse, those dogs, yeah, they're so kind to them. They give you phone numbers and infomercials on how you can donate to different foundations to help those animals who's been exposed to abuse. But throughout my life, for the life of me, before this recent current outcry by the nation, I cannot recall not one single commercial nor infomercial dedicated to funding blacks in this country who happen to be products and first-hand victims of the worst violence, discrimination, injustice for hundreds upon hundreds of years. And hell, if we even mention reparations as a bridge to the gap the white power structure created, man, they look at us and we asking for half of their family fortune. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because Malcolm X once said something to the effect of, in order to begin the healing process, they have to first start pulling the knife out of our back. He said, but they're not willing to do that. Hell, they won't even acknowledge the fact that the knife is even there. And that's the reality that we still face with today in America. To this day. Dead ass. And I know they're not serious about searching for real change. Because it's people like the prosecutor in my case who has no real regards for us or our oppression. And to me, that's a major part of the racial issues that confront our country today. When you take a black man, myself, with what I would call such a insignificant criminal history, and paint me out to be such like a domestic terrorist or whatnot, and dehumanize me, to me that you compound the problems in regards to officers and law enforcement across the nation. How they view every black man as a threat on sight. No questions asked. because without so much as an assessment or evaluation, before my eyes, I was made out to be a complete animal. And I have one conviction for violence, which happens to be a misdemeanor from over 9 years ago and 5 kids ago. In my opinion, the prosecutor was attempting to make a mockery of the court by parading me around as such a monster, knowing there was very little evidence to support that frivolous claim. I mean, it was an unwarranted attacking, and that was just for to try to combat my bond, me getting bond. Not to mention what else she might have in store for, bigger things down the road. But my criminal history won't change. A lot of people might not like where I'm going, but to me it needs to be said. And I honestly believe that if America treated its black citizens with the same respect, compassion, understanding, and energy as it does its white women who are rape victims, then racial relations may actually have substantial progress then. And you're gonna say, that's unfair. You shouldn't make comparisons like that. That's below the belt, whatever. And yeah, it is. Because rape is an atrocious crime. It's horrible. And every victim, they got my utmost compassion and sympathy. But it pales in comparison to black victims of the white power structure composed of every branch of government, every magistrate and prosecutor, every school system, right down to every single constitution, every single amendment of the Constitution here in the United States. I mean, at least in the case of rape, most times the actual physical abuse will last just for that occasion. Not speaking on the mental, emotional, physical, psychological toll that the abuse takes on as a person. But yeah, and the same America that will advocate for the justice and peace of that rape victim will continue to rape blacks 400 years straight every damn day of our lives with actual physical public displays. And I guess it's as a reminder to, who's boss, of course. And could you just imagine, being black and a rape victim? Like, how do that work? Please, nigga, please. And they wonder why more rape victims don't come forward. I mean, for us, that'd be like having a history of being raped, telling the authorities, and then they start raping you themselves. And then have 2 or 3 of your former abusers to come join the party. Ponder on that. I just feel that when it comes to us, they've hidden behind this systematic structure of condemning and discrediting blacks since the very beginning. And they got people who not impacted firsthand by the oppression believe that it's all part of judicial due process and precedence and equal standard procedure and jurisprudence here in this so-called land of the free. How are we the land of the free, though, when significant layers of this land are oppressed and condemned? How does your law enforcement kill its own citizens at will and still be referred to as peace officers? I mean, how do you divide and mass incarcerate a whole race of people and call yourselves leaders of the free world? Do you mean the leader of the free white world? The leader of the free to oppress world? Which one? Because we haven't seen freedom. Not in this country, not in this world, not ever, not at all. Just the insensitivity shown by the prosecutor, in regards to police brutality, in regards to racial inequalities and oppression, all that was just, it was just saddening. Like, it was like getting hit with a big piece of reality, because it shows you how they think, how they feel. Like, I understand you want to discredit me or discredit the activism I'm claiming to have, and you want to downplay my frustrations created by oppression. But for her to sit up there and state that some of the events in my complaint actually took place before the reigniting of racial issues in America caused by the death of George Floyd, to me, man, that just shows reckless oblivion on behalf of the prosecutor. I mean, really, it's as if all the Black lives lost prior to this recent surge of protests, they truly did not matter to her. You know what I mean? And this is an around-the-clock issue for some of us. They don't realize that. It was highly offensive to have a prosecutor break up and choose which period of oppression and which Black life, whether it be Breonna Taylor, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Amadou Diallo, Javier Ambler, whoever. Which Black life does not matter when we voice our frustrations? How are you picking that? And that kind of thinking does nothing but set progress back tremendously. You know what I mean? When we thought the goal was to be conducive to positive change during these times. What you thinking? Like you don't say that. Even if you're thinking it, maybe you should run that by somebody first. And then you have America's president and Congress insisting that this issue is not systemic or systemic racism. And that type of denial or state of oblivion, especially from the top of a nation, can only be interpreted as counterproductivity and real confirmation that no imminent change is on the horizon. Legislative orders calling for more body cams, that's not conducive to immediate change. I mean, all body cams has proven is what we've already knew to be true. It's given us a preponderance of evidence to the narrative and ugly truth that America in every level of its government has a deep hatred for Blacks and a great love for maligning, disregarding, disabling, destroying, and discrediting us. Body cameras show clear evidence of the brutality we've been enduring for centuries. And still, it has not led to more charges and prosecution for their blatant, unjustifiable deeds. I mean, maybe the problem really isn't systemic. Maybe we got to think about that. I mean, is it really a problem when the shit was devised and designed to be this way? It's not a problem. It is systemic, but it's not a problem. Did you hear me when I said, Brother Malcolm said, they won't even acknowledge the fact that the knife is in our back to even begin the healing process? Hell no. For what? When they want these traditions to continue. When they want them to live on. All right. Okay, before I wrap it up, before I'm done, I just want to make it abundantly clear that I'm not anti anything that's positive and progressive. That means I'm not anti-police, I'm not anti-government, I'm not anti-white people, hell, I'm not anti-snakes, dogs, elderly people, twerkers, you feel me? As long as your heart is in the right place, man, we cool. And anybody for equality and positive change, I'm with all that, you know what I mean? But I am anti-racism, I'm anti-police brutality, I'm anti-oppressors, anti-systemic condemnation of Black people worldwide. And I put my life and my freedom on the line every day of my existence, fighting against them. That's period. But lastly, as a Black man, I would never say we're doing anything wrong in response to reacting to this system and this brutality and injustices. Our response is the product of timeless discrimination and racism and oppression, unwarranted against us. What I will say, though, is let's improve on togetherness. Let's have each other's backs, fronts, and best interests at heart out here. We got enough enemies, man. Let's make it fewer amongst ourselves. You know what I mean? If we see a Black man or lady under duress or what looks to be an unwarranted attack, man, we must step in and intervene. No matter the consequences, it don't matter. We got to preserve Black lives by any means necessary. And we must work as they do when they're on or in tight situations. They bind their asses out of jail. They pay for their legal aid. Right, wrong, racist, or supremacists. This is what they do. They playing a numbers game. We got to match their energy in regards to showing our own that type of unconditional support. That's it, man. Black love, baby. You know, we got to move with the movement.